Good evening. This is Nolan Dolph with the History Station. Tonight we will be talking about the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II in America. The court case we are discussing is Korematsu versus U.S. Korematsu was living in San Leandro, California with Pearl Harbor when Pearl Harbor was bombed. President Roosevelt issued an exclusion order number 34 on February 19, 1942 that said the military was scared that there would be Japanese spies that could be dangerous. The order said that all Japanese Americans had to relocate. Korematsu refused to follow the order and was convicted. A district court found him guilty and sentenced him to 5 years in probation. He filed an appeal with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, but the conviction was upheld on December 18, 1944. The case went to the Supreme Court, where it was also upheld with a vote of 6-3, and made sure to explain that rounding up all of the Japanese Americans wasn't racial discrimination. Now let's take a closer look at this case. Fred Torosaburo Korematsu was born on January 30th, 1919 in Oakland, California to Japanese parents. His parents owned a plant nursery, and Fred lived around this area all his life. He worked as a welder after high school and was 22 years old when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and the U.S. went to war. The military said that the Japanese Americans were a threat, that they might be spies, that they were a danger to our national security. So they rounded up all of the Japanese Americans on the West Coast that were near any military areas. They relocated 120,000 people, and 70,000 of them were born in the U.S., which made them U.S. citizens. Korematsu was born in the U.S., so he was a U.S. citizen. Also, they began moving the people into internment camps in other states. Korematsu's parents and 3 brothers followed the order and reported to the military, but Korematsu stayed behind. He believed he was an American and had never been a threat to anyone. He tried to disguise himself with plastic surgery and changed his name, but eventually he was caught. He was arrested for refusing to comply with the evacuation order of forced relocation. He decided to challenge the U.S. government under his legal rights of the Constitution, Korematsu claimed it was racial discrimination and it violated the Fifth Amendment. Both of the lower courts upheld his conviction, saying he was guilty. His case finally made it to the Supreme Court. The military were getting nervous the day before the decision was going to be read. The War Department made a public statement saying they were going to release all of the Japanese American prisoners. The court stated the next day, December 18, 1944, that what had happened was a military necessity since they were at war with the Japanese Empire. They made sure again to say it had nothing to do with being hostile or prejudiced to him or his race. They said relocating all of the people was constitutional. Years later, many people questioned the decision and said it should have been investigated more to see who was loyal to the U.S. Many people feel it was racially motivated. On November 10, 1983, the case was back in court and Judge Marilyn Hall Patel finally overturned Korematsu's conviction. This decision led to the Civil Liberties Act of 1988 that gave reparations to the Japanese Americans who had been incarcerated on U.S. property during World War II. The judge had agreed that all of it was racially motivated. On March 30th, 2005, Korematsu died of respiratory failure. He was 86 years old. He will be remembered as a civil rights icon. Let's end the show tonight with a few quotes from Korematsu. In his words, fear the prejudice against minority communities are too easy to evoke and exaggerate, often to serve the political agendas of those who promote those fears. If you have the feeling that someone is wrong, don't be afraid to speak up and stand up for what is right.